zoom in here a little bit. Now what I want to do is I want to put a stroke, a nice big stroke on this frame around my picture. And here we have what's called a frame and a stroke. Anytime I ever create a rectangle, it's basically a container. The reason you can't see it is because it's got a fill of none and a stroke of none. If I go over to my swatches palette, so let's say we're dealing with our foreground and we want it to be a blue. Okay, so this box will fill with blue. If I grab my stroke, which switches here, and say I want a yellow stroke, you can see I have a blue container with a yellow stroke. It's the same way. I'm going to just select this thing and delete it. If I select an image, you will notice I basically have a frame with no fill and no stroke. And even though there's a picture in there, it doesn't mean it's necessarily a fill. So if I want to add a stroke on there, I can go ahead and click on my strokes palette and say, let's just do a stroke of black. Puts a nice big black stroke around my image. If I want to adjust the weight of that stroke, I can go into my strokes palette, and by default it's set to 1 point. Okay, I can put 5 points if I want. And I'm going to go ahead and hit tab, and you can see it added a 5-point stroke. If I want that stroke to be yellow, and the reason it's only dealing with the stroke is because I have the stroke in the foreground as opposed to my fill. I'm going to go ahead and switch that yellow stroke back to black. If I wanted to resize my picture altogether with my rectangle and my picture or my image or content, I would select it, and you will notice in your tool palette you have a little free transform tool. If I click on that, I can scale them both together. Again, remember, I want to hold shift so I can constrain it. And I'm going to want to be able to see my guides so that I can use them as reference. Okay, I hit W to go out of preview mode into normal mode. So I can see where I want these images placed exactly. I'm just holding shift as I click and drag the corner. And that's how you would resize your image. Double click your hand tool to frame everything. The image is not actually in your InDesign document. It is only linked. So it's a good idea to have your links palette, which is going to keep track of all the images and all the references that you use in your document. You can see here's my Mr. Freeze, and it tells me the dimensions. If I right click on it and say relink, I can link it with another image. Or sometimes if I move those images, the links will be broken and it won't be able to find these individual images. So this is basically a reference to where all the images can be found. If I want to, let's say, relink it to another image, I click on relink and it says okay, select another image. I go into my images folder, let's click on Spider-Man here, and I double click and it opens it up. These are the names of all the images that I have. And if I right click on it, reveal in Finder, if you move your InDesign document by itself, that's how the links palette works, is it shows you where all your images are and where they can be found. Double click on my hand tool to see the whole thing. That's what we're looking like right now. If I hit W, I'll go back into my normal mode, and you can see I could add in some additional pictures there, and I want it to eventually look like this.